All right, it's working. Ladies and gents, welcome back. Welcome back. It's another Friday. A couple of little technical glitches just as I was getting going here. Wow, let's bring the chat in. Welcome, chat. How are we doing tonight? Hi. Hey, Angela. How you doing? Yutaka. Everybody else in the chat. Mr. Smith, how's it going? It's great to see everybody here. Boy, has it been a busy week. It has been a busy week. I don't think I have not been live once this week. Holy cow. Free the glitch. Yeah, glitch. You know, I didn't know that glitch was actually a Yiddish word. Did you guys know that? I had no idea. You learn something new every single day, and that was something I learned yesterday. There's a whole bunch of Yiddish words, apparently, that are in the English vernacular in North America, and it's just something that we all say all the time. This is just a thing. Slogan and all, bring it home. Yeah, we're going to talk about slogans in a minute here. I'm kind of getting sick of slogans, I'm not going to lie. But nonetheless, I mean, people have gotten me all wrong. I don't know how this has become a thing. How is it that you can listen to somebody but not actually listen to the words that are being said, or read tweets and not actually read the words? And we're going to get into some of that stuff. Evening clue to do something. evening Don Boulet, thank you so much. North New Europa, yeah, that's right. That's like people just not figuring it out. Get ready for some more slogans. Oh, they're coming. They are coming. I listened to the conference today, and it was really just all about that. Hey, Clyde, why do you always wear a hat? Guys, I like it. Because I like it. It's my favorite one. And it's kind of a signature thing here now on the channel. So that's why I do that. And got the headphones always as well. That way people can recognize it from the avatar. That's the thing. Love the slogans. Canada first. Axe attacks. Bring it home. Yes. Okay. So lots of people love the slogans. But when the slogans get taken from you, that's where it really hurts. The axe. We haven't heard axe attacks anymore. Because that was just a slogan. Glitch because likes believes what? I'm having a hard time reading that you guys realize that. Oh boy. Sometimes you get caught in the middle of reading something and then you go, wow, that was not worth getting into. F Max, that stunt was complete BS. We're gonna get into some of that too. Prime Minister Chili Con Carne. That's right. Good evening, Clyde and Clydesters. Good evening, everybody out there. It is very good to see you guys, and it hasn't been very long. I mean, it was just we were just live last night. Holy cow! I did not get a lot of sleep because I've been doing a lot of these live streams every single day this week, and yeah, I had to put a bunch of stuff together last night before I could go to bed and then wake up right at the crack of dawn to get you guys out some videos right in the morning. I just got here. Clyde, do something. Do you see Max on InfoWars? So that was something I didn't see, and I was actually surprised to see that just before going live. I saw this tweet from 5 hours ago. Thank you, Relax Jones, for inviting me on your show. That was great conversation. I think that's how he would have said it, but yeah, this is one of those weird precarious situations where, you know, Americans don't understand Canadian politics, and that's fine. You gotta give them credit for even paying attention as much as they do to what goes on in this little country. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves on that one. But that yeah, so they've invited this opposition guy who has no seats and no hope of ever getting one, and they did it, and it really was for the sake of Max. It was Max just jumping on that opportunity, just like any other time he could, you know, possibly run against the conservative. I mean, I don't understand why. I've been saying this for years. Even before I got a little bit more disillusioned with the whole PPC thing, largely due to looking into it, folks. Like, let's be honest here. I didn't didn't become disillusioned with Max and the PPC because people told me to do that. No, I did my homework, and it's really really not. It's oh man, was I hoping for something good, but that's not what I got. Absolutely, I had Max on the show twice, and it was very calculated, rehearsed. And the whole point of bringing people on for conversations is to have real conversations with them. And this is why I've been encouraging Pierre Poilievre to ditch the slogans. I mean, whatever, have your slogans, but if every other sentence is a slogan, whatever, ditch that stuff. Frank Vaughn has the dirt on Max. Frank Vaughn is going to be on the show on Monday, so be prepared for that one. That is going to be good, live at the usual time, 6:30 Pacific time, Monday. So be there or be square. Don't miss it, because we'll be doing Q&A like we normally do. So if you have any questions for Frank, that would be the time to do it, especially in the live format. So we're going to be going over a lot of this stuff. Joe Rogan, Bernier, really? I don't think. What is that? Something that's been announced? I doubt it. I don't know if Max could get through 3 hours with someone who's a little more skeptical, like Joe Rogan. You know, I haven't seen him on Alex Jones, so we'll see how that one goes. But I mean, you have to look at it from this situation. Come on, Clyde, bring it home. Bring it home. Just bring it home. Bring it home. I should put together a speech that's just entirely slogans, and then go run against Max Bernier. I don't know. Mad Max. Yeah. So it really is just a unique situation that, unless you know a bit about the history, you probably wouldn't know what's going on. So, of course, you have someone on the political right, but claiming to be, the people's party, the people's person, and for workers and all of this stuff. And this is why I've never understood why Max or any of his candidates really focus on NDP strongholds or liberal strongholds and go do that. Where are you, Clyde? I'm in British Columbia, which is an NDP stronghold. Let's see. Well, it's not federally. I guess some areas in the Lower Mainland are, but it is very, very red in the Lower Mainland. Red and orange, and then blue everywhere else. Essentially, that's what it is. But getting into this, I've never understood since I started learning about this party why they're not trying to pull the votes from the left. Especially people who are susceptible, people especially who are disillusioned because of, you've got Max, you've got Jagmeet Singh, who's taken what was supposed to be for union workers and workers, essentially, the working class, the middle class people in Canada, and he's taken it and he's really pushed towards this faux pseudo-intellectual academia crowd, and that's really what the NDP is about anymore. But they pretend they have the lip service to the workers. I thought a legitimate party that was up and coming and trying to get in there could have definitely gone after not just conservative ridings, but go into NDP strongholds. I think that would have been great, and then that creates a situation where, even in there, you're not splitting the vote. You're winning over people who have been primed their entire life to not like conservatives, the color blue, whatever it is that people get hooked into their tribalism. This would have been a perfect opportunity, but that's not what happened. Pinko Maserati Marxist. He's not a Pinko commie. He's full bore. He's not even just commie light. He's full on. I mean, I guess he's not even a watermelon. He doesn't care much about the environment. He just cares about his communism and his paycheck. He's one of those famous, they say, champagne socialists. Maserati Marxist, that's it. Clyde, did you see Northern Perspective episode where they're finding Chinese manipulation in the daily polls tied to the Liberals? I've seen that elsewhere. I didn't know that they did a show about that. But yeah, that's been a big story today. Wine red Marxist. Yeah, there you go. Rolex Marx. That's and then of course the Liberals, which they've skipped the whole ideology of Marxism and they went for the dystopian Marxism, the after effect, not the fun part where everybody's having a good time living off of the lavish luxuries of stealing other people's money. No, they're just going straight for the corny Marxist. They're going straight for dystopia, straight for they're not even going for Leninist Russia. They're going for Stalin Russia, which incidentally, I've said this before, but maybe you haven't heard me say this before, but I was really, really mad at Hugo Chavez for dying when he died. I really, really, really was hoping that he would last longer so that we wouldn't have another Lenin-Stalin situation. This is really, it really went down this way. I was predicting at the time, obviously I didn't have a channel at the time, but I was predicting it amongst my friends and colleagues and whatnot. And I said, listen, watch, it's going to go to crap. And let's hope he doesn't die. Let's hope whatever happens, the guy doesn't die, because you think Chavez was murdered? Perhaps that could be. I haven't heard any allegations of that, but in that kind of regime, that's a thing. But here's the deal. So I was really mad. I was really mad that he died, because I'm like, I don't want to see another guy get all the praise, and then the bad guy, the other bad guy, Maduro, become the villain who took it over, and everything would have been good if Chavez was still around. No, everything never would have been good. It would have turned out the same way it turned out, except it would have been Chavez doing it. It would have been, I don't know, like Pol Pot all over again. It would have, like all of these different regimes. It would have been Castro all over again. They try to, ignore those tales. But when the guy kicks the bucket while they're still spending everybody's money, this is where you get things. He destroyed Venezuela. Yeah. So incidentally, the reason why this came up into my thoughts recently was my good friend Alex Zoltan. He sent me a documentary. I haven't had a chance yet to watch it, but he was describing it to me, and he was telling me about this documentary. He says it's moving and I should watch it, and I really should as soon as I have a bit of time. I haven't had any time all week. But it's about this flood of migration of people coming from Venezuela and trying to get themselves to the United States, going through this crazy pass through Central America, many people not making it. And I was saying, these people, they're being given this false hope that they could go to America and that they'll be welcomed, or that it'll be good for them, or any of this stuff. And I believe that they're being led astray. They're being told a falsehood, a false story about what'll happen when they get there. And so they have all these hopes alive. And I said, like, do they have any of this sort of sentiment, or what is their sentiment about political situations? And I said, like, here's the thing: Americans do not want your average Venezuelan just waltzing into the country. Of course, immigration is a thing, and if you have skills, you're welcome to come. That's a thing. Of course, if you do it legally. The Darien Gap is the treacherous jungle passage. It is. It's really crazy. But then I said, they come and then they have socialist ideals, and that is not something that people want. And it's despite what they're going through in Venezuela. And I said, do they say anything of the sort? And so Alex, he said, yeah, they say, well, they don't like Maduro. They think it's bad, but Chavez was great. And I'm like, oh, then they're too far gone. You can't import that into our society, dude. Dude, Rudy, you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But we can't have a flood of people who absolutely sympathize with Chavez and what he did, but think that just Maduro is the bad guy. He's the bad guy in all of this, because that will lead to some serious trouble in the country where they end up going. Because, well, what are they going to bring with them? They're going to bring left-wing ideologies, and we can't have that. So obviously, people like Rudy, who don't have left-wing ideologies, are perfect candidates for coming to, places like Canada, places like America. This is the way it should go. I think we got on this discussion because Alex said, "Oh no, but Venezuelans usually when they come, they're very right wing," and I said, "Really? Is that true? If you need me, I'll help you out. I'm not prepared tonight to have a guest, but I'll have you on again. I'd love to talk about this. Let me watch that documentary. Let's do that, Rudy. I'm gonna watch that documentary. I'm gonna get some clips from it, and I think that would be a good time to do that. 1000% correct. Look at how Haitians in their damn third world eating. Okay, yeah, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. I know it's such a meme now, but it's a real thing. It really is crazy. 50%, 52% of Canadians are on the spectrum. Which spectrum is that? Chavez was the first to steal Argentinian elections. Wait, what? I don't understand what you're saying there. Yes, they were eating the dogs and the cats. Crazy. Yes, they were. They were. Of course, they tried to blow it up like Trump was a crazy person saying this stuff. But nope, that wasn't the case. Now, let's get into some of these things here. Here's a pleb reporter talking about this on X, saying, "It's suspicious to me how Maxime Bernier suddenly stops being lazy and appears on podcasts days before an election gets called. Why are you not on podcasts the last 4 years? Why now when an election is being called? This man is here to split the vote and help the Liberals." This is obviously the perspective of the pleb, but my opinion's not far off. It's not far off on this one. I think Maxime has been on a revenge tour ever since he got the from the Conservative Party. And what gets me the most is the grassroots I'm the people's man thing. When you look into it, this guy, there's not much more Laurentian elite than this guy. Clyde, invite Wyatt. Of course, Wyatt's always invited on the channel. I'd like to have Wyatt on for this. Yeah, I haven't really seen much PPC videos at all until a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, just this is how it works. So how many podcasts has PP been on? None. And this is a thing. So a lot of people, PBD has lost my respect. Oh, what, for having Max? See, this is the thing. I'm not blaming PBD on this one. See, PBD is just getting fed information from people in Canada. And mark my words, every time you bring up Max Bernier, you bring up the PPC, you speak ill of their methods, their methodology, what they do, you get bombarded. You get massive bombardments from a lot of, yeah. Here comes some, maybe. I think that might be the thing. So you get bombardments, and I mean, I've seen it so much online. Now, that being said, because the strategy is spam, then why wouldn't Patrick Bet David look at the comments in that and go, wow, there's a lot of people wanting to see Max Bernier on the show. Let's get that guy on. I don't know what this guy is doing. Get him on, talk about what's happening in Canada, because largely, why would they otherwise even really care? Why would they really even care about what's happening in Canada, except that there's this animus. There's probably a good not a good chunk, but a chunk of their viewership is in Canada. Yard Prep saying Max proved Canadians don't have anything to be proud of when asked Celine Dion. Oh, okay. So I saw the name Celine Dion there. I was gonna get to one point that Max said in the interview, and I'm gonna have to pop this one up. Because so I've got the interview here, and I can scroll through it. And I'm just gonna use the transcript as a way to navigate this. So let me just bear with me for a moment here as I do this. So Celine Dion was mentioned in the podcast, but somehow not. What? Am I mistaken here? The PBD podcast. Here we go. Let me pull this up. Sorry, I'll get this so everybody can see this. This is just a tool if you want to find something really quick in a stream. You can actually get the transcript, pop it up, and then just use the search function. So Celine Dion was not spelled correctly, I'm guessing. Oh boy. All right. It's because of the accent, I think. I think it's because of Maxime Bernier's accent that he, oh boy. Let me see this. Okay, he was talking about heroes, and I want to play this clip of him talking about heroes in Canada, because I found this quite interesting.
Majority of francophone try to speak French and be prosperous. So
who's your hero? Who are Canadians' heroes? If you give me
who are Canadians' heroes, so we're talking about the identity of Canada, Canadian identity, that kind of thing. And you know, you ask an American, they'll have a whole slew of American heroes, of course. And there would be Jim McMurtry's running PPC. Oh, that's sad. Yeah, Celine Dion is evil. But yeah, have a listen to this.
3 heroes. Like when I was in Brazil and I'm talking to Jair Bolsonaro, you would
yeah, how would Terry Fox not be right on the top of the list? Like, I mean, that is the across the board Canadian quintessential hero. I have no idea why that wouldn't be on the top of your list.
Hear Senna, you would hear Pele, you would hear Jair Bolsonaro, and you would hear different names, right? Who are, of course, you may say Gretzky, but who are some heroes in Canada?
Absolutely say Jordan Peterson.
Laurier, Wilfrid Laurier.
Wilfrid Laurier. Yeah, okay. The liberal, the guy who started a lot of the liberal stuff and brought the whole Quebec, very strong Quebec influence into the whole thing.
In the beginning of our confederation,
yeah, why not Don
Cherry?
Cherry?
Prime Minister from Quebec, and you know he was for free trades, and he was very
Stompin'
for
Tom
a smaller
Connors,
government. Yeah. He was a liberal, but a classical liberal.
Wilfrid Laurier. Wilfrid who? Yeah, Wilfrid Laurier. He's saying, yeah, no, he didn't say McDonald. No, he didn't. No, he didn't say Tommy Douglas.
And also, you know, if you speak about sport.
So Wilfrid Laurier, the guy who brought a lot of the power to Quebec, great.
You know, Maurice Richard was a big, you know, Canadian, French-Canadian hockey players with the...
He was a hero for Quebecers.
Montreal.
Maurice Richard. I always just like saying it that way.
Canadians. If you speak about music, Céline Dion, she's very well known, and you know.
Celine Dion. So we got Wilfrid Laurier, the Rocket Richard, and we got Celine Dion. This is the libertarian guy. The libertarian guy. He's talking about Wilfrid Laurier, the guy who brought in big government, the start of big government. And of course, all Quebec heroes. Interesting.
You know, personally, I'm not a fan of her music, but I'm proud that she's successful around.
I'm not a fan of her music. I'm sorry, I gotta hear that again. That is so good.
And also, if you speak about sport, Maurice Richard
Yeah,
was a big,
Maurice Richard.
A Canadian, French
Brian Adams.
hockey players with the Montreal
Oh, you guys are
Canadiens.
killing me.
If you speak about music, Céline Dion, she's very well known, and personally, I'm not a fan of her music.
I'm not a fan of her music, but she's my Canadian hero. Nickelback. Oh, friends don't let friends. Nickelback, man. Oh, that's so funny. I'm not a fan of her music, but she is my Canadian quintessential hero of all time. Oh my goodness. I love it. I love it. I love how funny this gets. Yeah, Tim Horton. There you go. He could be somebody's hero. Oh my goodness. Great Big Sea. Yeah, okay, now we're just mentioning Canadian music band, The Hip. Oh man, it's all Quebec. It's all Quebec. Everything is French focused for this guy. Unbelievable. Justin Bieber, Avril Lavigne. Avril Lavigne, she's I don't really like her music, but she's my hero. What's that? Clanchette? I don't know who that is. Tabernac, the frogs are everywhere. How about the truckers? Yeah, no kidding. Oh, holy cow. Oh man. Not Celine Dion. Max is always going to be for the French. Yep. It's a thing. Blanchett. Bubbles. There you go. Guy Laffer. The old hockey star, Guy Laffer, and and Maurice Richard. Absolutely. Tamara Lidge. Chris Barber. Those people are heroes. If I were listing off Celine Dion. The Rocket, Maurice Richard, and the guy that brought in Big Government, Wilfrid Laurier, then the quintessential beginning of the Laurentian elites. Oh, the man of the people, people. Ladies and gents, it's cracking me up. Marty McFly, who wrote that? The Walt. I like that. Oh, I am your density. Keep playing it, Clyde. Keep playing it. Well, there's copyright issues, but I mean, we'll get into a bit more what he has to say here.
But I'm proud that she's successful around the globe.
Is that what it takes to be a hero? Is success around the globe? I thought you don't like globalism, buddy.
Yeah, but
Leonard Cohen is Canadian. Leonard Cohen is Canadian.
Leonard Cohen is Canadian. Yeah.
No, we have a great francophone anglophone culture.
But I'm only gonna pick the francophones. Oh my goodness. This is just so transparent. I love it. You guys are funny. Simple Plan. The fact that he missed out the entire convoy, the entire convoy effort. I don't know. That's right there. Holy cow. Rush is probably some of my favorite like lyrical songs that are like Canadian, because those guys were like Randians. They were like really into Ayn Rand. Listen to their lyrics, super based. Yeah, unbelievable. I think it was it Geddy Lee or Neil Peart that wrote a lot of the music? I think the two of them wrote a lot of the music together. But it's just fantastic. Neil Young is American. Neil Young is Canadian, but I'm not a big fan of Neil Young. Neil Peart, I'm a big fan of Neil Peart. Absolutely. Neil, lots of Neils in the chat. Gothic Blonde. Why does that ring a bell? Tom McDonald is a true hero. He is a true hero. I mean, he's largely American now. I mean, I think he jumped that ship a while back. I was actually trying to get in touch with Tom McDonald. If anyone has an in, I'm gonna keep trying because I'd love to chit chat with that guy. I think he's fantastic. I like what he's doing. Wow, the chat is just moving way too fast for me now. This is crazy. Oh, you guys are hilarious. But yeah, here we go. This is Max Bernier. So, I mean, what was the point of this? The point of this was to go on and trash talk Pierre Poilievre because, I mean, I don't think that Maxime Bernier is trying to win any elections. I think he's trying to thwart any chances of a conservative winning an election. That's Norm Macdonald. Oh, wow. Why did that one not come up? He is like, yeah, he's up there as one of my favorite comedians of all time. And absolutely treasure for sure. Didn't watch this at all after your interview with him. No thanks. Oh, so you were put off by my interview with him? Because I was kind of like, what is this? I was just trying to crack the shell, the whole time. Crack the shell. Can I get a real answer out of this guy? Nope. I agree with you, Clyde. Max is trying to be a spoiler. Yes, and he's making a decent living out of the whole ordeal as well. Now, of course, he comes to the table as I am the People's Party, and I believe in free speech, and I believe in the all of the things that people love in freedom, and I won't give a constitution to my party so they can vote me out. This is for real. I'm not kidding. Even if there's no mechanism in the People's Party to get rid of Max Bernier. There's nothing. There's no constitution. There's no elections for anything, primaries, any of this kind of thing. Oh boy, that is something to be proud of, isn't there? But oh wow. But this is serious. This is serious. So, you have a candidate who says a lot of this thing, but then it turns out very thin-skinned. I started seeing through a lot of the rhetoric, when he ran in Lisker, and I saw what he was saying about the abortion debate, and I saw right through it because only about a month before that, I was doing some research with my friend Vesper, and we were doing some research with the Criminal Code of Canada, and we stumbled upon like all this stuff about abortion, the history of how it became legal in Canada, all of that stuff, and had to do learn about how this all became a thing and why the abortion debate is a completely different story in Canada versus the abortion story in the United States. Like, you'll often hear in the United States the argument of when is it that people believe that a human becomes a human? Is it at conception? Is it at birth? There's the whole argumentation on that. And then because the reason why is because if that were to be determined in law, then it really determines if you're destroying a life and taking somebody else's fundamental rights or not. If you're committing a crime or not. This determines that. Now in Canada, it has been defined. This is why nobody's having that discussion. Nobody's talking about when is a life a life? Is it at conception or whatever? Because that legal decision has been thought out and decided on. Now, this could be changed, if you actually wanted to amend the criminal code and make a modification to it. And you would have to pass a bill to amend the criminal code. Now, what he was doing in this Lisgar region is he was saying that he was going to put a ban on it's illegal until 9 months. Actually, believe it or not, it's legal up until the point that a child breathes air. That is what the criminal code says. So it's legal all the way up until that point. Now, would doctors do that? Likely not. in Canada. Are people asking for these abortions? No. See, this is the thing. And what he put forward was he was saying, I'll introduce the legislation that will make it 9 months. It is banned to do the so we're gonna stop people from doing it at this point. But nobody was doing that. So it's this useless piece of legislation that actually doesn't jive with the criminal code if you bring it forward. In order to do that, you would have to change and amend the criminal code. And listen, here's the thing. One guy all by himself in an independent party is not doing any of these things anyway. He's making it very, very clear that he doesn't want to work with the conservatives. So you would be electing one guy to do nothing. You know, and this is another part of the confusion. People who don't understand the parliamentary system don't understand that you vote for a guy locally, but your prime minister is not someone you vote on. The prime minister is a position that the party chooses, and it's only the party that has the majority in. They could be a minority. They have to have the plurality of seats in parliament. So when he came forward with this idea, which was a ban on something that, for one, is never happening, and gives exceptions for things like the mother is about to die or something like that, which in those cases it wouldn't even be a contested thing. But he was making it a political issue, and I just saw it as slimy. I just really saw it as slimy. And I thought, wow, like the idea of what people bring up, and they say, hey, look, this is something. Look at this guy. He's got all these great things. He talks about immigration. He talks about all these things. But is any of it going to get done? And when he does, when it comes down to it, when he does propose real legislation, it's junk. It's junk, and it's just there to pander to a particular group of people. And why did he come up? He switched his stance, by the way. He switched his stance to that position. Why? Because he went to a very Christian riding. There's a lot of conservative, socially conservative people in that riding, and they would typically vote for Candice Bergen, and she stepped down, so her seat was available. The criminal code does not directly call it abortion. It's procuring miscarriage. Yeah, it's not directly stated that, but the criminal code does define when a human life is a legal entity. That is defined. I think it's section 233, I believe, or was it 223? One of those. I'd have to look it up again. But that's what is defined there. So that's where we're at, right? We're looking at slimy sort of behavior, and I don't see this as anything other than slimy. But what part of the PPC platform do you disagree with? The leadership. The leadership. I disagree with the leadership, and I disagree with. Let me just say, I disagree with the Constitution, because you know what it looks like? It looks like that. It looks like a stain on a napkin, because it's nothing. They don't have a Constitution. If you don't have a Constitution and you've been a party for how long? You don't tell me you're a party. Just don't tell me you're a party. Like, seriously. And believe me, we're going to get into this, because on Monday, Frank Vaughan is coming on the show, and he'll let you know he was part of the PPC before Bernier even. This is where we're gonna go. Thank you, Clyde. FFS, you PPC bros are lost. I think so, and I feel it's quite cultish, the PPC, to be honest. The behavior, the pylons. I've likened them to like the political version of the Jehovah's Witnesses, but I find that the Johos are a lot nicer at the end of the day. But that's the way it is. Parties don't exist, just a distraction. Parties exist. I hate to tell you. I mean, I went to the conservative AGM for the for the Conservative Party. It was very much a party. It very much existed. And yeah, there are disagreements. I mean, not everyone's going to get along. Not everyone's going to agree where the direction of everything should go. But that doesn't matter in the PPC, because if you're one of the people in the PPC, it doesn't matter what you think. It's not the People's Party. It's the Maxime Bernier Party. If it was the People's Party, they would hold elections in the party. They would have a constitution. They would have an elected board. They would have an elected president. They don't have any of this stuff. So that's the reality of it. Max just wants to split the vote again. That's I'm not. It's a thing. It's a thing. I don't know but here's the thing. I don't know if Max is going to be able to split the vote. I mean, if he's able to get candidates to run in some key ridings, he could theoretically, and if this is his motivation, because I mean, I'm just espousing what, we're all just espousing. I can't say for certain what his motivations are, but if it were true that his motivations were to thwart the Conservatives from winning, he would bring his party members and he would go to key swing ridings. So watch what happens. Watch what happens. If there are contested swing ridings and Max focuses his energy in those areas, then you'll know exactly what's going on there. Change the subject, Clyde. Why? I'm on a roll. I'm interested in this. And I think the chat is too. Defining life is not the same as a choice to terminate a pregnancy after 3 months. My son was born with a heart condition, and 20 weeks the cutoff for babies with a fatal condition. This I'm not entering a debate about what is right, what is wrong, what is moral. I'm just reporting on what the criminal code says. And if a candidate says this or that, then I'm going to have to take him at his word on what he's saying, and then I'll check with how it's actually written in the law. And if it's written in a slimy way, I'm going to point it out. I'm absolutely going to point it out. But yeah, I'm not here to try to enter the abortion debate, because if anyone wants to change the way it is in Canada, it's the criminal code amendment that needs to occur. And you'll know that people are serious about the debate when they start talking about amending the criminal code. That's the thing. And I'm one last point on this one, because there was a piece of legislation that was introduced last year that the Liberals, it was introduced by a Conservative, and the Liberals said they want to make abortion legal with this piece of legislation. And this is how little even our MPs know about how this stuff goes. Melissa Lantsman was interviewed, and she said, "No, we're not trying to make it illegal. We're just it's just about amending the criminal code." Like, she literally said, "No, we're just amending the criminal code. That's all it's about. We're just trying to clarify some things." And wow, like, that tells me that she didn't even know that that's what the piece of legislation was going to be for. If you can open up that door to amending that criminal code, that is how you can change the law on abortion. And I'm not saying for or against. I'm just saying the facts, that this is how it is. Daniel Fung with a $5 super chat says, at one point of the podcast, Max classifies the Conservatives as red liberals. After this point, I feel this interview is more a comedy show. Yeah, I'm gonna have to find that. I'm gonna search that. Red Wilfred liberal. Okay, so that's not conservative. Nope. Let's see. I'll just scroll through this. Where does he say it? Red. They are red something or another. Oh, here we go. Here we go. True. Yeah, okay. I'll go back a little bit so we can catch the clip.
Max probably won't even win his own seat. But more fundamentally, Max is a true libertarian and has always been. Pierre is a true blue conservative. Do you agree with them? On the politics at the end, the libertarian and the true blue conservative.
Well, Pierre, no, he's a red Tory. He's not a blue conservative. Look at his policy. He's a red Tory, like a liberal.
So this is where I kind of I got a little peeved and I put out a tweet, right? I got a little peeved and I put out a tweet because here's the thing. I think Max is doing the thing that will be the most detrimental to Pierre Poilievre in his capacity. Absolutely. Let me just dig up my tweet so I'm not just paraphrasing. Here we go. Just get this on the screen. So I said, so many people want to know what makes Pierre Poilievre tick. This is why people would want him on podcasts. This is the whole thing. His PR team told him to keep quiet, and this is what we're all thinking. Now, Maxime Bernier took this opportunity to misrepresent Pierre Poilievre's positions, but that is what is going to stick if Pierre doesn't get out there and set the record straight. Another L for PP. This is true. This is why Pierre needs to get out on podcasts. He needs to articulate his ideas. You don't do this in a press conference. What do you see at press conferences? These press conferences, there's slogans and you can introduce little snippets of ideas, but this is what it sounds like.
Representing workers in this area for decades. Steve, Luigi. We also have Steve and Luigi hosted us here. I really appreciate them. I also want to acknowledge Barbara Ball. She's our...
Okay, so that's a story about a person. I'll just go to some random point in here and just have a listen.
Allowing the union training halls to register the apprentices for EI. So it'll allow you guys to register them, get them started, and that way when they join the program, their EI is ready to go. They got money in their pocket and food in their fridge.
Now, he's talking about the apprenticeship programs here, which this is great. This is absolutely great. But he's just talking about bringing something that's about to expire back, right? And he is talking about expanding it a little bit, but this is more big government. This is more big government. I'm not gonna lie, this is, but it is. If you are gonna run social programs, I'd say these are the good kind of social programs to get workers working, that kind of thing. But he's largely just talking about bringing something back, that making sure that it doesn't expire, which I don't think that the Liberals are going to try to make it expire. Now, I want to actually make a point that I wish he would have made about on this. Maybe ask a tradesman sometime, Pierre, or come on the show. We can talk about this. Did you know that under the Liberals, they made an amendment to this whole thing of grants that go out to apprentices? Now, I was earlier on in Trudeau's prime ministerialship, an apprentice at one point, and in that I got to benefit from some of these things that they would give out. They give you these grants. I think it was year 1, 2, and 4. They skipped year 3, but you would get this cash bonus for completion. Did you know that under the Liberals, and this is crazy because nobody even knows about this until you get in and you're about to be eligible for it. You don't even learn about this until you're about to get the check. So you can't call this an incentive, but for women, they get double. So if a guy gets $1,000 at the end of year 1 for his apprenticeship in any trade, women get $2,000. Women get $2,000. On year 2, they get $2,000. The men get $1,000. Year 3, nobody gets anything. And then year 4, the men get $2,000 and the women get $4,000 to put towards tools and gear and all of this stuff. And you can't call it an incentive to get chicks into the trades. You cannot call it that because nobody knew about it. Nobody knew about it, but we found out from our teacher at the end of the school year, and they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, you all get a grant, and oh hey, Susie in the back, you're getting double. Don't let the guys get mad at you for this." It's unbelievable. So like, is it much of an incentive or just something to make people pissed off at women in the trades? That's the thing. Anyway, let's get back into this.
Fourth, we'll work with the provinces to harmonize the health and safety regulations so our trade workers can go anywhere. Right now, believe it or not, a trades worker who goes across the country has to redo the 4-day health and safety program. So they might.
Yes. So he has some great ideas and he's bringing them out, but who's listening to these press conferences? Let's face it. Only very politically active people. Drew Coover with a $10 super chat says, "The world has changed and the way you politic has changed. Thanks to Mr. T. Got to get out there and converse." This is what I'm getting at. I have so many people on Twitter saying, "I'm so glad you think you know better than the guy, than Pierre Poilievre and his team." Okay. You know who knew better than Donald Trump? Barron Trump. That's right. His youngest son encouraged him to get out on podcasts, and it won him the presidency. Like, get over this whole concept that, oh, these people have a thing, so they're smart. No, it's called strategy. And you know what? Oh, wow. Yeah, I love this one. Because we get this all the time, especially in the trades. You get people that would say, "Hey, I've been doing this for 50 years. You can't come in here and tell me how to do the," right? You're like, man, you gotta be kidding me. And they'll say, "Well, yeah, I mean, I'm experienced." I'm like, no, you gotta be kidding me. You've been doing this for 50 years? Well, this is your lucky day. Because now, because of me, you can not have to make that mistake anymore. 50 years has gone by. You've been making that same damn mistake. How about that? So it really comes down to that. Clyde, 100% agree. And the Trump thing is accurate for sure. It totally is. Because here's the thing. People used to go to TV. They would watch the news. They would watch Global. They would watch CTV. But let's be honest. Most of the Canadians are not watching those things anymore. They're just not doing it. Clyde, I think you sounding a bit arrogant. Am I sounding arrogant? Sure. I mean, that's the thing. When somebody doesn't want to be told that what they're doing is wrong, anybody who comes in to tell them otherwise is going to sound arrogant. See, the thing is, I've got skin in this game too. I want Pierre to win. And this is where everybody's got this all wrong. They say, "Clyde, stop bashing on Pierre. We want him to win." I want him to win. I don't want him to lose. I don't want him to do the bad old strategies. This is really my intent here. Daifeichu with a $10 super chat. People who think they're knocking PP, saying he's a career politician, should read about William Wilberforce, a 45-year politician who almost single-handedly stopped the slave trade. There you go. Do a poll if you sound arrogant. Why? Because you got all your PPC buddies in the chat because I put Maxime Bernier in the thumbnail. That's good. There you go. Clyde's not arrogant. Clyde, you're absolutely right. Clyde, you're right. We don't watch TV. Not for 6 years. We had cable. So here's the deal. So people are not watching the news. They're not going to catch this conference. And let me tell you, despite the slogans, I'm just getting annoyed with the slogans. That's just me personally. And you know what? Like, lots of people like the slogans. Cool. Love the slogans. Boots, not suits. Print your signs. Do your stuff, right? Just when I hear the same thing repeated over and over again, it doesn't feel authentic anymore. It stops feeling authentic. Maybe it's not the slogans, but it's the repeating of the same catchphrase over and over again. The one that really got me with Pierre was when he kept repeating the thing about we don't want another mother with her face in her hands because she lost a child. When you hear it repeated over and over again, then it gets to the point where the emotion in that is lost. The emotion is completely lost in that, and then it just feels devoid. And that's that uncanny valley you don't want to cross. Clyde, you're my Canadian hero. Cars and stuff. I love the name, by the way. James Halliday with a $5 super chat says, Clyde, this election will either be the beginning of a great, I think it's the beginning of a great return of Canada for the destruction. Well, we'll see how it goes, because my prediction is need to get a conservative supermajority, because this is what's going to wake people up. I tend to agree with Frank Vaughan on this one, because unless somehow Pierre turns into Javier Milei overnight, or Donald Trump, and wants to make Doge and really like actually hack at the bureaucracy, then what are we gonna get? We're gonna get a politician, and the reason why I want to see a supermajority is because, and again, I'm getting this from Frank Vaughan, so I am reiterating what he has said, is that it'll wake people up to see how badly stacked the Senate is. Wow, that just went right by in the chat there. The Senate is stacked, and even a conservative majority will be stymied on a lot of things. This is the reality. But this is what we need to wake people up to. We need people to see that in order to get reform, right? If people see that, then we can have the political will to reform some of these institutions. I mean, having an elected Senate, this is something Pierre ran on when he was young, when he was just first starting out. So that's a big thing. Should Max make a coalition with PP? Why? You know what a coalition would look like? It would look like Max just bowing out, which is what he does for the rest of the year when it's not election season. Pierre, that just went right by. I agree too. I can support the slogans, but I get annoyed hearing them all the time too. Yeah, and well, you know what? That a part of that is just because we're hyper focused and we're hyper paying attention to all of this stuff. So yeah, it's gonna get annoying for a lot of us. So I'll concede to the fact that these slogans do work for a lot of people, but this is not where they're gonna see it. This is not where they're gonna see it at all. In fact, again, I think this was a good press conference. He started to actually start introducing some of these ideas. Now, a lot of people have told me, Clyde, I'm a pretty staunch conservative, and I don't watch guys like PBD when they talk about Canada. They don't have a clue of what they're talking about, and Bernier is a clown. That's not what matters. This is, I think, where a lot of people are missing the point. That isn't where it matters. What matters is that there are a lot of people that do watch shows like PBD Podcast, or not even PBD Podcast. It's not about him going on PBD Podcast. Of course, Maxime Bernier went on PBD, but it's about Pierre going on other podcasts. And in fact, of course, I'd love to have Pierre on this podcast. I'd love to ask him some serious questions. I'd like to get down to brass taxes on policy and talk about the stuff that he wants to implement and introduce. I'd love to do that. And I think that would be very informative for a savvy crowd, right? We're talking about this community. You guys are very savvy. You know what's going on. You know what's happening. That's not the point of what I'm talking about. I'm talking about him going on streams that millennials or Gen Zers are watching that may be absolutely apolitical, but they're like, haha, get this. A political leader wants to come on our podcast. It turns out he's super based and he loves our generation. He wants to turn things around for us. Oh, okay. Maybe that's a better idea, right? Like, don't I wouldn't say you're wasting your time with coming on my podcast, but it would be, again, for a crowd of people that are already likely made up their mind on a lot of issues, and then we could talk about policy. But I'm talking about getting out there and talking to people who have not yet voted, who would not vote if they didn't hear a conversation that sound good for them in a place where they frequent. And that's the thing. Why do you think politics used to happen in beer halls? It's because that's where people were. The people were in beer halls. People don't go to beer halls anymore. This new young generation, that's not where they're at. Which podcast would be good for Pierre? Which podcast would be good for Pierre, for the youth? If I was tasked with that, I would go look. I would absolutely go look. So, like, to give you what's a beer hall? A beer hall, a pub, whatever. This is what they used to call it, beer hall politics. But yeah, I would absolutely go looking. You know, Joe. See, this is the thing. You keep saying Joe Rogan. Did he get an invite from Joe Rogan? I'm not gonna lie. I bet you Joe Rogan would say, "Yeah, I don't want to talk to a politician from Canada. I don't care." That's my guess. But yeah, Joe Rogan would be a great place for people to hear Pierre's message. That would be fantastic. Studio 778 with $6.99 super chat. Pierre won't go on these podcasts because of what the liberals will say. Barron Trump was correct. That's why Trump won. And here's the thing: if you're afraid of what the liberals will say, then you've already lost. You just might as well pack it up, pack it in, let them begin their next thing, because that's where it's gonna go. You know, you gotta have the cojones to go out and do the thing. Get out there, spread your message, get it out there to everybody so everybody can see it. And this is why I'm not saying he has to come on my podcast. This is where everybody's got this all mixed up. And I don't even think PBD podcast is saying that. He's not saying that. You know, Donald Trump didn't win because he went on PBD. Did he go on PBD podcast? I don't even think he did. But Donald Trump went on tons of podcasts to Zoomers. For Zoomers. Podcasts you probably would never have heard of. And that's a winning strategy. Dale Val for 5 says, Clyde, comments are in here are saying boomers are not in touch. What's your demographic? Or can you poll? We watch podcasts, man, and we are a large vote. Rue? So boomers, before people start saying I'm talking trash about boomers, because boomers are very sensitive. I'm not gonna toy around with that one, because my goodness, are boomers sensitive about this stuff. But you know, boomers have their places where they're gonna find their stuff. They're gonna look here, they're gonna look there. That's they're already in tune for the most part. And this is why I'm saying, like, it doesn't have to be political podcasts. This is a political podcast. It doesn't necessarily have to be here. But boomers are out of touch with the younger generation. And that's every generation is out of touch with the next younger generation. It's nothing to be offended by. It's just you're not watching their shows. Like you know what I mean? Like you're not watching Mr. Beast and things like that, but Zoomers are. And this is where, and I'm not saying go to Mr. Beast. Maybe go to Mr. Beast. Who knows? You know, I know it's kind of obscure for a Canadian politician, but I had to explain this to somebody today on Twitter that was challenging me on it. And I said, you know, why didn't Trump then? They said, why didn't Trump then go on Canadian podcasts? And I'm like, wow, this is right over your head at this point. So obviously, Trump is not interested in going on Canadian podcasts for a good reason. There's not a lot of Americans watching Canadian podcasts. In fact, it's probably nobody. Well, not totally nobody, but it's not a lot. Like the demographic's not huge. And a lot of the demographic from America that's watching Canadian political podcasts in that right, they're doing it because they're expats. That's the thing. And then I said, and then they replied, well, you know, because I'm saying that, you know, he didn't go on Canadian. I replied, no, they're not going on Canadian podcasts. And they said, oh, so you're telling me that they don't watch Canadian stuff? I'm like, oh, brother, I don't know what to tell you now. I don't know what to tell you. Call Me Daddy podcast, is that a thing? Oh, I like that. Jasmine Lane, welcome to the chat with a $6.99 super chat. Do something, cast. Jasmine Lane, obviously, your podcast would be great for Pierre. Of course it would. Of course it would. But I think that it's not about just one podcast. It's about going everywhere. This is the point. And I think this is where it's all getting lost in translation. And it's going over some people's head. And I'm not saying this to be condescending. I'm saying this out of like, holy cow, let's please just get what I'm saying instead of reading into what you think I might be saying. Studio 778 with $13.99 super chat says, Canadian strategists who work for these parties are completely out of touch. They want to play it safe because it's the Canadian thing to do. It's the Canadian conservative thing to do. That's why they're on the fence. You're absolutely right. I believe that you're correct in this assessment. I think that this is a game that the conservatives play. The liberals, they'll hurl out insults. They'll do whatever. They'll say, oh my goodness, you going on an American podcast while simultaneously booking shows with Jon Stewart and, going on all of these American shows themselves. What needs to happen, will Pierre win? If he doesn't do what I'm talking about, I believe he'll lose. Jasper. I think that's the thing. And I don't want that to happen. Right? By the way, Jasper, we got to set something up. We got a podcast together and we can talk about this because I know you have some opinions. I've been seeing you on Twitter talking about this stuff. So yeah, come on the show. We'll talk about this. But this is exactly it. They're out of touch. They're trying to play this 1995 game of, Canadians aren't they don't like conservative ideas. So, we'll say all the conservative things when we're running for the party leadership. But then as soon as it's general election time, we're going to, kind of keep that one down on the DL. And then we'll appeal to the liberal base. That's not the great idea. Pierre could go on the pleb. Pierre could go on the pleb. I'm saying Pierre should go everywhere. This is what I'm saying. It's not like just do that one and then that's the win. No, I'm saying go everywhere. Get out there, hustle. Get to every single one of these podcasts if possible, right? Do multiple showings. Go everywhere. But go on obscure ones. Go on obscure ones where it's, guys that have a largely Canadian audience. It doesn't have to be political. Just go where that young people in Canada will be watching. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, as for this strategy is just, it's ludicrous. And you know what? This strategy is what Scheer did. This is the strategy that O'Toole did. And that's that's the thing. That's the thing. That's just history. Where are we here? Where are we? Sorry. Jay Froelich, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Member for 2 months, says it's the 50+++ group that Pierre needs to reach. The old crowd, old LOL, someone, Moose, maybe. Yeah, I mean, go on any of these shows. I'm saying that. Broke down the voter ages today. Well, see, here's the thing. If you wanted to reach, some of the older demographic, my show reaches a very broad demographic. It would be great. It would be great. I'm not trying to sell myself short and say don't come on my show. Obviously, I would love to have Pierre come on the show. Not just Pierre though, like other candidates. This invitation is open to Liberals and NDP as well, by the way. And I will be fair, but I am opinionated on especially about socialism. But that's the thing. So, but I'm not saying it has to be on this show. But yeah, the 50+++ group, absolutely. You can find out where they are. But I want to say this. I have the PPC. I had Maxime Bernier on twice. What do you want from me? I've had Payman Esquerra on twice. I'll have him on again. I love him. I think he's fantastic. He's running in my riding for the PPC. There are some like absolute lunatics though, and I'm just like, oh, I don't have the stomach for that. But that's the thing. A napkin. Not sure if you're being disingenuous or uninformed. There is no constitution in the People's Party of Canada. Sorry, and I'm not being disingenuous there. Let's get to where was I? Studio 778 with a $13.99 super chat says, just look at who watches CNN, MSNBC, The View, etc. It's generally women and those over 60, and that's who the Liberals are betting on. Yep. Yeah, they're betting on that stuff. But what are you going to do? Are you going to go on those shows where they're largely just going to try to set a trap? Clyde, did you see the Northern Perspective investigation on... yeah, that was brought up earlier. I haven't seen that yet. No, I haven't seen that. I'll check it out after. But not after this stream, because we're going to be doing the usual Friday night hangout in the Discord. If you're not a member or part of the Discord, it's free. It's another social media platform where you can go hang out. It's one of my mods is going to put the link in the chat here at some point. But if you're not yet a member there, go on over. And every Friday we do a hangout where we chat about all these things that I'm talking about in the live stream. But I get to hear other people's opinions. So this is a great way to do it. I hope one of the mods has the link. One of you guys must have it. Or you don't have it this time. Marty Up North. Yeah, Marty Up North is fire. Yeah, every Wednesday on this channel. Let's get into some more here. John DeLorne for 5 says, do you endorse Pierre Poilievre? What would you like PP to do more of? So I don't think it's would I endorse Pierre? I suppose like I reserve the right to choose who I want to vote for, but also tell you to vote for who you want to vote for. And, if you're going to throw away your vote, in my opinion, yeah, a PPC vote would be a throwaway there. But that's I put a Discord link, but I'm not mod on Discord. What? Okay, I'll have to send you the link. Where are my mods tonight? Maybe that's why we got so much going on. Mod chat. I know we'll have a link for this evening. Let me grab it. You can copy and paste this later, Yutaka. Just Boom, there it is. Sorry, where was I? Would you endorse Pierre Poilievre? I would endorse Pierre Poilievre under some conditions, but I'm gonna say this. I'm not gonna dissuade people from voting for him, and I'm not gonna tell people to vote for him. That's up to you. I'm gonna try to inform you the best that I possibly can. I'm really disappointed with his position on the Ukraine debacle. I don't know if he's gonna reel that one back, but I don't think it's consequential whether I endorse him or not. I think I should just report on what it is, because I reserve the right to change my mind. You know what I mean? If something rubs me the wrong way. Utaka's the only mod in the chat tonight? Wow. Yeah. I mean, it just happens. It happens sometimes. It's one of those weeks. Everybody is been very tired. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very tired. I would venture the majority of. Okay, I missed that. I totally missed that, and I get to some of these here. What would you like PP to do more of? What would I like PP to do more of? I would like to see him shift his rhetoric away from this forever war in Europe, because it's just a money suck. I would like to see him talk more about I gotta watch what words I say. The F word and not the 4-letter one. The narcotics in Canada. I would like to see him push towards taking care of that as a situation in Canada. The organized crime that surrounds it, everything involved in it. I want to see a crackdown, and I want to see a crackdown on corruption in Canada. Massive crackdown on corruption. There is a big problem when CBSA agents are talking with their counterparts on the other side, and the counterparts cannot trust them. And you know who's been reporting on this? My book finally came in, my copy of this. Sam Cooper has been reporting on all of this stuff. His writing is just fantastic. That's another person that should come on the show if he'd be willing. But that's for sure. So I would like to see him doing more, talking more about the immediate issues. And that is all of our money walking out the door in Ottawa into the hands of bureaucrats and politicians. I'd like to hear him say that that's something he would like to prosecute. White collar crime in government. None of this. Oh, we hear stories about they investigated at Revenue Canada, and they found all of these, like, lots and lots of employees were defrauding the taxpayer during COVID with the CERB payments. I don't want to hear that they let them go. I want to hear that when they let them go and then they were escorted out by the police in cuffs. Why is that not happening? And why is that not even a question? Why is that not even being addressed in the media? Why are no politicians talking about this? It's beyond me. This kind of white collar crime is just allowed to occur. And it's like, oh, I might lose my job, but then what happens? You lose your job at CRA, and then you end up in some other bureaucratic position a few months later, or 6-8 months later after your unemployment runs up. This is really, really a big issue in Canada, because corruption and the lack of prosecuting corruption leads to more corruption. And this is why Canada has become so corrupt. So that's what I would like to hear more of. And I think, I'm not kidding, if Pierre Poilievre came out, the media would lose their minds. Believe me, they would lose their minds. And if he came out and he said, yeah, when we hear about people getting fired for corruption, I want to see them being escorted out of the office, not by the other employees, but by the RCMP with handcuffs. If he said that, just imagine the roaring applause across Canada that people would say, finally, somebody gets it. Finally, somebody's saying what needs to be said. Finally. And I believe you me, the media would lose their shit, and they would run this story nonstop. Look at Pierre Poilievre. He's going to be this blah, blah, whatever they say about him. They're going to accuse him of being this or that. They're going to accuse him of being like Trump. They're going to accuse him of all that stuff. But you know what that means? That means airtime. That means eyeballs. That means he'll be in front of so many people. This is what will get the attention. Not enough handcuffs. LOL. No, there aren't. You can say I'm gonna open up the regulation and make it possible for a new manufacturer of handcuffs right here in Ottawa because there's such a shortage. You can say this stuff. It would be hilarious, and people would love it. People would jump all over it. And so this is what I'm advocating for. This is absolutely what I'm advocating for. John DeLorean with a $2 super chat saying, do you endorse PB? You should do open phones. Be slick. Yeah, open phones is dangerous. You could get banned on YouTube depending on what somebody might say. I'm not kidding. People do it just to troll you. So that would be dangerous. Goko Donnie, member for 17 months. Oh, and I already answered the endorsement question. Honk honk. Here's airport next, but the weather sucks and the highway's been a parking lot of late. Wonder why? LOL. All right. Chon with a $6.99 super chat says Pierre needs to campaign and do interviews with Anna. She's awesome. Who was saying that? That was someone kept saying that. I was chatting with. Oh, get your pretty wife out. Was that Marty? I can't remember. Somebody was saying it. It was making me laugh. But great. Yeah, no, absolutely. Get out there with Anna, or Anna should be out there having conversations. Why is she not going on like there's like lady YouTuber channels? Why is she not out there just getting on those channels to have a chat with some of these ladies, young ladies? I don't know, makeup review YouTubers and fashion YouTubers, that kind of stuff that draws in a whole different demographic of people. Get out there. It was Marty. Yes, it was Marty that was saying that. Too funny. Jasmine Lane. Yeah, Jasmine for sure. Go on Jasmine's show. Come on and talk with both me and Jasmine together on the Do Something podcast. Make that a thing. And if you're not subscribed yet, make sure you get over there and subscribe to the Do Something podcast. It's just rolling out, just getting going. So get on over there and hit the subscribe button. Make sure that you do that. Here's the link to that right there. Get on over there. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already yet, I encourage everyone to get over there. Where are we? There's Max. To the max. The polls. Hold on. I don't want to miss one. Chon, Pierre needs a campaign. Interviews. Yeah, she's awesome. Dread Damien. I hope I'm reading that right with the $2 super chat. Are the polls fake or not? Some of the polls are fake. Some of the polls are not. So I'd say yes and no. I think there's a lot of legitimacy, and I think people are really underestimating the fact that so many liberals grew to hate Justin Trudeau. And I'm talking liberal ridings always go liberal, and they have a liberal MP. Again, you have to understand, so the way the parliamentary system works, you're voting for your local MP. You're not voting for the prime minister. You're voting for your local MP. Clyde, you have to extend. Yeah. I've been getting myself out there. We'll see. We'll see when we get contact back, because I'm all for it. I'm all for it. But yeah, so here's the deal. You vote for your local MP, and all over there was one MP from PEI. He went on the news. This was before Trudeau resigned, and he was talking about it. He said, you know, his constituents call him up and they say, Sean, we like you. We want to vote for you, but if you got Trudeau as your leader, we don't want him to be prime minister anymore, and we'll switch our vote. So this is why they ousted Trudeau. This is why they got rid of him. It was a mutiny, and there was good reason for it, because they have the political equity to bring back the Liberal vote. So yes, this isn't a Kamala bump like people are saying. You can kiss your freedom of speech goodbye if you vote for Carney. He will even shut down Clyde. You're right. You're right. But I'm moving stateside. Not sure when, so I'll be protected by the First Amendment. You don't worry. I'll still be talking about Canadian stuff, because if that happens, it's going to be in limited supply. There's going to be a lot of people that'll be afraid to talk about stuff. But I'll definitely be doing it. I'll definitely be doing it. Don't you worry about that. Studio 778 for $6.99 says, Pierre's strategy needs to be like World War II. See Canadian trench raids, ruthless, feared, effective. That fear carried into World War I Canadian trench raids. That fear carried into World War II. Strategy wins wars. Slogans don't. You're right. You're right. You're right. I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. John DeLorne with a $5 super chat says, saw the Jasmine Lane. That was good. You should do the pleb, Moose, or Northern Perspective bonus points if you can get Jordan Peterson. Yeah. I think all of that's planned. So I haven't talked to Moose yet. I'd like to. Yeah, it'd be great to have him on. So yeah, let's make these things happen. Absolutely. 51st state, First Amendment, Canada, zero freedom. Yeah, I mean, it is yeah. What do you say to that? If Carney wins, I want Trump to invade and take us fast. Well, so that is an argument. That's what some people are saying. Vote Carney so we can have our separation in Canada. Is that? I'm not suggesting that, but it's a thing. It's absolutely a thing. Let's end this poll. Just because it popped up in front of me. Will Maxime Bernier win a seat in the next election? 76% of you guys said no, which I think is that's quite a low number, and I think it's because a lot of people saw that thumbnail. A lot of the BBC guys, they'll come in and do that. 1.2 thousand, 1,200 people voted on that one. I'm voting Carney for the 51st state, so that's it. Some people are doing that. I can't tell you who to vote for. I don't believe in doing that. That's up to you. That's your choice. I mean, I can raise arguments, for or against, but that's people are, because people keep saying vote strategy, vote strategically. That is a strategy. That's somebody voting strategically. Goko Donnie for $10 says, Sudbury was the start of a new paradigm shift. Now with that Carney's copying his notes, this is definitely going to be a popcorn moment in history. Full stop. So the Sudbury rally. Yeah. I think Pierre was a little late to the guns on this one. And it was that idea. Don't say what your ideas are, because then they'll just steal your ideas. Well, you don't think that's evident? You don't think that's evident? This is the whole point of a campaign, to show people that, like, wow, great. So I had all these ideas. I guess they were so popular that the Liberals decided that they like these ideas too, because they've ruined the country over the past 10 years. Do you think they'll actually follow through with them? You know, like, wow, like use your rhetoric and your voice. I think it's better. It's better than just hoping that the news is going to treat you fairly, because they're not. Let's just be honest, they're not. And you need to game that system. Like I said, say some off the cuff things about, you know, perp walking white collar criminals, bureaucrats, perp walk them. Say that you're gonna love watching them walk in chains, stuff like that. And then that'll be the 24-hour news cycle won't shut up about it. You'll probably get a whole week's worth of campaign for free just by saying stuff like that. Chon for 279. People need to sub like PP. Sub and like PP. Oh, his channel. Yeah, he's got quite the following. North 49 RC, $2. Good evening, folks. Love our Patriots. Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Dalian Sylvain with a $20 super chat. Thank you so much. Danielle Smith said today, if Libs continue in government, it would cause a national unity crisis. Alberta now at almost 40% considering separating from Canada, 20% for sure. New poll on Rachel Parker TV yesterday. So just so happened I was watching that and had it somewhere. Where did that go? Let me pull it up. Let me pull that up. Yeah, Rachel Parker, she's fantastic. I would really like to chat with her as well. We're following each other, so I'll send the invite. Rachel Parker on her show. Yes. This is almost. So I'm not going to show the entirety of this because can't. It's copyright. It's her stuff. But she does point this out. So let her go over this chart.
Support Alberta independence. Specifically, 26% of Albertans said they strongly support an independent Alberta, while 11% somewhat support the idea. Now, that number stands in contrast to 44% of Albertans who said they strongly oppose an independent Alberta. They would choose to remain in Canada and stay a part of Confederation. Now, why these numbers are significant is if you think about education and you think about campaigns, in many senses, we have all been educated to support and believe in Confederation from the time that we were just young kids in school. And as I've said, there hasn't been a sustained campaign for Alberta independence in quite some time. Of course, we have things like the Alberta Prosperity Project, which pushes for a sovereign but not an independent Alberta. And we had the Maverick Party, formerly known as the Wexit Party, which also pushed for independence. Interestingly, when I was doing research for this report, I realized that the Maverick Party hasn't been very active as of late, and it even deregistered with Elections Alberta just last month. Now, what I can tell you is that I know for certain that there will be oncoming coordinated campaigns and efforts to push for Alberta independence.
Yes.
I am aware of several of these movements which are underway. They are just getting...
She was the one who actually filmed Jeff Rath, and that video went viral. I shared it in a video. Lots of people were talking about this, and she interviewed him there, but then she also did a video about this. And Jeff Rath was the guy who's putting together the delegate group or a delegation to go to the White House and get the ear of the White House, at least, if not the president himself, to talk about the idea of an independent Alberta and what that might look like in the future. This is Faith Goldie, who's I haven't heard that name in a very long time. Yeah, she went somewhere else, but yes, this is definitely a thing. This is a thing, and I think that Danielle Smith is really just recognizing that. She's she's putting that out there. I'll pull up her tweet in just a minute here, but I'm going to catch up on some of this. Gem Jam with a $2 super chat says, "Don't vote with emotion, vote with knowledge." Knowledge. Here in my garage. I don't know if anyone's going to get that reference, but definitely vote with knowledge. And if you're going to vote strategy, vote strategy. If you're going to vote for whatever, vote for any of those things. But people voted on their emotions, and look where we are now. The emotions of liking, the legal weed and fancy hair. We both want our countries back. Yes. Aha! Somebody did get the reference. I love it. Great. And a member of the channel, nonetheless. Alex Doe, good work. Yeah, Ty Lopez. Oh, okay, Ray-Jan got it. Yeah. Some people, I don't know. I'm not going there. If people don't know the reference, they don't know it. But yeah, here in my garage, it's all about knowledge. Yes, this is the Alberta separatist movement. It's growing, and I'll tell you why. And it's growing because, and this is another thing that I think PP needs to step up to the plate with. He is really flubbing things in this scenario, because for people in the Alberta, on the fence about separation, I'm not talking about people who are staunchly for it or staunchly against it, but the people that are on the fence, all those people in that pie chart that were on the edges, but were still in there, or thinking about it. The fact that Pierre Poilievre is not even considering or willing to talk about transfer payments needs to change. That absolutely needs to change. If he came on the show, I'd be asking him about it. I'd be asking about that. Because, and this is one of those things. It's so hard to get them to touch the third rail. And of course, Maxime Bernier is bringing up the third rail, not with the transfer payments, but with the dairy cartel. And that's very much a thing. It's very much a thing. This kind of thing, these things need to end. Absolutely. The transfer payments was a really bad idea, and it's totally unfair. And how can I put this? Like, the power is within Quebec and Ontario to really put an end to that. I wish they were the ones to bring it up and say, it's really unfair that one of the provinces has to send us all this money. Because if it goes the other way, it's going to hurt them the most at the end of the day. So if Donald Trump wanted to annex Canada, like actually annex Canada, and that was his thing, of course, that Canada, it wouldn't be a state, and they wouldn't be pushing for statehood and citizenship. It's not going to happen. What you would largely see is, territories being taken over. It would just be, okay, well, you're one of our territories now. And I'll tell you what, Alberta and the Western provinces would probably get a pretty good deal in that. And I think Ontario and Quebec the negotiations just wouldn't end well. They wouldn't end well. And it would be a lot of remembering the transfer payments and all of that. And the Western provinces would look at Quebec and Ontario and go, sorry, you want us to feel sympathetic to your plight at this point? And that would not be good. I don't want to see that. So I'd like to see more support from Quebec and Ontario to end those transfer payments and a lot of these other issues, especially around supply management, this kind of thing. And I've spoken about this ad nauseum on the channel. We have been bad actors on trade. I didn't start talking about this when the tariffs came around. I've been talking about this for some time. I've been talking about the fact that last year in January in 2024, the Canadians went to Britain for trade negotiations, and the Brits walked away from the negotiation table because how bad we are at negotiating these things and how stubborn we are on this trade protectionism and this, certain market protectionism. It doesn't fly. And all it takes is another country to come in and say, oh, you're going to do that to us? Well, you know what? How about we do that to you? Well, how about we limit your access to our economy? How about we limit your access to the demographics down here where you can make lots of money? Because if you're going to limit our access to your market, well, it's only fair that we do the same to you. And I agree with this across the board. Like when it comes to China, we're not allowed to go buy real estate in China. So Chinese nationals should not be able to buy real estate in Canada. End of story. End of story. But that's not the case. In fact, Chinese are absolutely allowed to buy real estate. And when they do, and they're doing money laundering, which has been pointed out by Sam Cooper in his excellent journalism, we find out that they're running rackets here in Canada. They're running these massive rackets out here in Canada to launder money through our real estate and through our casinos. And where are the politicians that are saying, I'm going to close the loophole to the Chinese bad money coming in here? Nobody's saying that stuff. Nobody. You talk it for $2. Quebec politics to Canada is like Canada to the US. Yeah. Relating to them. But I've always been a proponent of Quebec separation. And for good reason. Everyone has good reasons for the things that they say. Sorry. I don't know why I said that. I have good logic behind this. I think that the relationship between the rest of Canada and Quebec would be a much better relationship if it was a neighborly relationship rather than a joint venture relationship. The joint venture relationship, it doesn't work. It's lopsided. There's too much power on one side and too much whining, and what happens if you don't let them get their way. We saw we saw terrorism in the 70s over it. This is the reality of it. They'd be better just to be their own country. Then they wouldn't be getting they wouldn't be getting transfer payments. And so because they're not on welfare from the other states, like the other provinces, they would be forced to actually start utilizing some of their resources. What would the effect of that be? Well, those resources would go onto the market, and then we'd be able to buy, sell, and trade them amongst everybody. This is great. Hey, Rob. How you doing? I like that. But yeah, that really is what it comes down to. And I've been a proponent of this for a very long time. I agree with the Quebec separatists that they should be their own entity. And I've been saying this for a while. I think the balkanization is the likely best scenario for Canada, if only it were to bring it back as a country again. Because our system of governance is really out to lunch. It's really out to lunch. And of all the parliamentary, the Westminster parliamentary systems, ours is the most concentrated in the executive. Ours is the most concentrated in the Prime Minister's office of all the other parliamentary systems out there. It's really bad. They've been funneling it in that direction for way too long. The checks and balances aren't there. We need to bring that stuff back. We need to bring checks and balances. Quebec never joined the Confederation, so to make it official. And again, because as soon as you say stuff like this, you get people's back goes up. People from Quebec, their back goes up. Oh, Clyde's being anti-French. I'm not being anti-French. I think that Quebec and the rest of Canada would be fantastic neighbors. It's a thing. It's a bad relationship. It's a bad relationship. They'd be great neighbors. We need an end to transfer payments. Wait, we need an end to transfer payment protest? Yeah, good luck with that. I mean, getting the Freedom Convoy was just the right moment in history, the right moment in time. And look at how hard the media and the government worked to sully the reputation of all those people that were just amazing, patriotic, law-abiding citizens across Canada from all different walks of life. They try to paint it as this picture of, all right-wingers. No, there was lefties in there. There was, they weren't all white people. There were everything. Just the shades of whatever you see every day. It was crazy. A major bank was busted for money laundering. Yes. Yeah, TD in the United States. And this is the reputation that we're growing. We're growing this reputation with our trading partners and our neighbors. Do you think, like, why would anyone be surprised that, you get a guy like Donald Trump? He comes in and he says, okay, we're changing the trade deal. Largely he was unsatisfied with the USMCA and where it went when it came to, the dairy lobby and all this stuff. So he's like, no, we're gonna change that. Where was that? Because I wanted to pull this one up. The Danielle Smith one. Oh, I guess before we get into that, so here's something that was happening during this this thing with Max Bernier, because I wanted to make another point. He talks a lot about the mass immigration. Let me search this up. Mass immigration. I think it was later in the podcast where he says that Pierre Poilievre is all good with mass immigration. So he keeps saying this stuff. No, it was much later than that. It was much later than that time. Was it? How long is the podcast? An hour and a bit. I think it was further than that. The real focus, the concern is mass immigration. But he tries to say that Pierre Poilievre's stance on it is that he's not against mass immigration. I'm trying to find that. This might be it.
And regulating us all the time. So to be a Canadian is to be a free man, that we can do what we want. But right now it's not the case anymore. And with mass immigration, we need to know our history. And the majority of Canadians don't know the history of our country. Are these new immigrants? They are telling me that, I'm a...
That's an excellent point right there. Sky Pilot, Max can say anything. PBD doesn't know any better. He doesn't. And this is the problem, though. And this is what my tweet was all about. My tweet was all about the idea that Pierre's not getting out there and talking to people and saying what his opinion is. And yes, for those that say, like, who cares? Why do we want to be on an American podcast? Well, one, a lot of Canadians watch American podcasts. That's just the thing. And Americans would like to know that there's somebody who's not batshit crazy in Canadian politics. Let's just put that out there. And let me tell you, when you do hear Pierre talk about these things, he's on the right page. He's absolutely on the right page. But do you get to hear him say it a lot? Do you get to hear him say on the news? No, he says it quietly on some small shows, but he doesn't say it on big podcasts. And I think a lot of Americans would be like, rah, rah, he's our guy. That's awesome. Because, there are terrorists coming over through the Canadian border into the United States. So mass immigration in Canada is an issue for them. This is a big thing.
Immigrants also. No. My roots are, coming from at least 300 years, I'm a settler. We I'm coming from France and in Quebec, and same thing for people coming from Europe, in Canada.
No, this isn't the bit. I'm gonna find it because he tries to insinuate that Pierre Poilievre is for mass immigration. That's actually something he's for, which I thought was a ludicrous insinuation.
We can do what we want, but right now it's not the case anymore. And with mass immigration, we need to know our history.
Yeah, no, that's that. He already went over that. Anyway, that being said, so here's a great clip. This is from the Candace Malcolm show, where he talks about it because Max is saying these things on the show. Goko Donnie for $2 says winning a seat or two would make him matter. Yeah, right. But this isn't what matters. He's going on there and he's distorting the image of what Pierre Poilievre is, and he's doing that on purpose. And this is why Pierre Poilievre needs to get out there and say, no, that's not true. I've been saying these things, and my opinion's not. It's not new. It's not out of the blue, and it's very much a good. We'll get into it in just a second here. Centrite with a $6.99 super chat says, "Never underestimate the stupidity of the Canadian electorate." The electorate. Look, squirrel. Yeah, exactly. That's the way they play. Clyde, you apologist pig. Yeah, right. Right. Look at the words he says.
Well, it's very simple. If you break our laws when you're here as a visitor, we kick you out. I don't know how anybody can disagree with that. If someone shows up in our country claiming to be a student or a temporary worker and they start firebombing coffee shops, bakeries, synagogues, or any other place, then they need to be immediately arrested and they need to be deported.
Yes.
If someone is obviously a citizen, they should be prosecuted through our legal system and put in prison here in Canada for those sorts of crimes. But there's no excuse for keeping people in this country who are visitors here on a temporary visa or permit if they're breaking our laws.
What about people who are here illegally? What about people who have entered the country illegally or who have come to the country, applied for asylum claim, had that rejected, but remain in Canada? Would you deport those people?
Yes, I mean that's supposed to be the policy right now. I mean, if someone comes in, makes a false asylum claim, it gets rejected, they're supposed to leave today.
Yes.
The challenge that we're going to face is that under 9 years of the Carney Trudeau Liberals' open border policies, we have now millions of people whose permits are going to expire over the next sort of 2 years. And if they don't leave, we have a very hard time, first of all, even knowing they're still here, finding them, and then carrying out a deportation. There are some among them that we do want to keep. They could be a master's graduate in computer engineering that has a six-figure job in Kitchener-Waterloo, started a family, integrated, speaks the language. This is someone we want to keep. But we need to be able to make that decision ourselves through selection based on these criteria, not just by accident because people who are not eligible to stay decide they're not going to leave.
That's it. Rebel News. Wait a second, that was Juno. I don't know how that happened. That was actually Juno News. That was Candace Malcolm on there. But yeah, that's it. Pierre promises to deport any newcomer living in Canada or on a visa who breaks our laws. Do you support this? Asks the pleb on X. Yeah, if you break the laws in Canada, you should go. But this is so. Then it's like, well, if that's not good enough, what are you asking for? Because there are a lot of people out there that they're getting on this rally cry of deport everybody, anybody who's been here for what? And it's been getting kind of spicy on that crowd, saying to deport people just because of certain characteristics they might have, that kind of thing. That I'm not keen on. And the thing is, immigration is necessary. Immigration is always going to be necessary. I'm very pro-immigration. Like, I'm pro-immigration. I'm just not pro-stupid immigration. I'm not pro-crazy mass immigration. Like, pro, like Carney's buddies out there. I can't remember the guy's name, but he just brought him onto his team. The guy who was part of the Century Initiative to bring in, make Canada a million people in what, like 30 years? That's just insane. That's absolutely insane. But so a lot of the people, you see it on Twitter, that are getting on this this max purple wave. Let's just say, don't all have the same ideas on immigration as maybe more of a collected, well thought out thought on immigration and deportation of people from the country. Now, of course, yeah, if you've come over on a visa and you've overstayed your visa, you can't stay. You can't stay. You have to maintain your legal status in the country. This is no like, foreigners are not, this is because this is a thing in Canada where a lot of Canadians just, they take it for granted that, you know, they go into America and they never have to get a visa or do any of that stuff. They don't know this process, and it's a big deal. So when foreigners come over to Canada or go to America, even like for example, my wife is a Japanese national, right? So she has a Canadian permanent residence, but when we go to the United States, she has to get a visa to enter the country. It's not like, well, I'm an American citizen, but like anyone else, most of you guys, you would just go to the States and you'd show your passport. And for the longest time, we didn't even have to do that. Just driver's license or whatever, and then you're just in the country. That's the thing. Angela saying, I agree. As an immigrant, we worked hard to come to Canada. It's not fair that these scammer immigrants get to come with zero skills to be useful, to be a useful member of society. Yeah. It's not fair to the people who do it right. It's absolutely not fair to the people who do it right. Trump might revoke your American citizenship because you're tainted. Really? That's funny. It's not a thing. As a citizen, I have something that Trump can't touch. That's the Constitution of the United States of America. This is why that's such an important document. Diane Sylvain with a very generous $50 super chat. Thank you so much. That's incredible. That's absolutely, wow, incredible. Saying Pierre should expose Carney's Carney's connection to China. Expose this. Carney once floated the idea of auctioning off the right to have children in his book and past BBC lectures. He openly asked, should there be a market in the right to have children? Yes, he did. This is, you're not lying. You're not lying. Where was that? I actually had Mario's video kicking around here somewhere. Unless I close that page. No, you're absolutely right. This is seriously, I don't, the fact that Pierre is not like really exploiting this is just beyond me. Is really beyond me. I've got the video. I'll pull it up in just a second. Yutaka with a $5 super chat. The false equivalency drawn between legit immigration and illegal immigration is so frustrating. It is. It is. And really what it is it's people with bleeding hearts. It was a Juno news article. Oh, that you got that from. Okay. Was that right? I saw it on Mario Zalia's thing. But you're right, Yutaka. It really comes down to ignorance. People. There's nothing wrong with having a bleeding heart. There's nothing wrong with having a bleeding heart. But you definitely need to bring some logic to the table. Like, you really need to bring some logic to the table. Because, yes, we would like to allow people to come into the country, and there's a legal process for that. When you break that process, you got to go. And if you don't enforce the rules, people will break the rules more. Get it? So if you say, don't deport somebody who's overstayed a visa, or cross the border illegally or things like that. It's the suicidal empathy. The God Sad's coined phrase there. Absolutely is. So you have to enforce the rules or more people will break the rules. The enforcement of the rules is what deters people from breaking the rules. Hey, get it? Why do you think we have people breaking into people's homes and stealing their things and beating people up in their own homes? It's because nobody's going to jail for it. Crazy, right? Crazy, right? You enforce the crime, you enforce the criminal code, and people don't break the criminal code. Clyde Politic is like a mechanic. Yeah, I'm setting the timing on that distributor, and I'm like, oh, it looks like the last guys that had it went full retard. I'm not breaking any norms by saying that. It's a legitimate mechanics analogy there. It's an angular adjustment. Let's get this video. So this was on Mario Zelaya. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I like his content. He's fantastic. I'd like to get in touch with him as well. If anybody knows him or goes in his live streams or anything like that, mention to him, hey, follow Clyde back, because he'd love to have you on his show. If anybody is ever doing that. Full retard on engine ignition timing. Right? It is. Yeah. That's how it works. Is the replacement more than a theory? The demographic replacement, yes. It's more than a theory. It's a thing. It's absolutely a thing. That's another little research tunnel to go down. But so up until almost recently, the Democrats in the United States have literature on this. They've talked openly about changing the demographics of particular areas in the United States, namely swing states. You change the demographics. You bring in a lot of people who will tend generally to vote a particular way, and you give them the incentives to vote that way too, by bringing in handouts and that kind of thing that that the conservatives or the Republicans would vote against, and that these people would benefit from, and you'll always have them as voters. They did this with the black vote. Let's not forget that. I can't remember exactly how long ago it was, but it was a long time ago, and they said that they would have those. I'm not kidding. This is a quote from one of the Democrats who said, "We set this up this way, and we'll have those N-words voting Democrat for 200 years." It was LBJ. So this is a real thing. When it comes to this, the Great Replacement. It's not, so some people will say, oh, they're replacing whites. That's not what it's about. I don't think that's even part of the considerations about that. They'll use the language of diversity, equity, inclusion to try to justify it, but it's really just about bringing people that they know will tend to vote Democrat and put them into particular areas. No, it's not necessarily even planned collapse. It's just planned winning. It's gaming the system so that they'll always do that. LBJ, check the JFK files. Yeah, I haven't gotten into that. I wanted to watch Candace Owens' episode. I like her, and I like what she's been doing. Incidentally, what's up with the Daily Wire? Holy cow, they're imploding. Ooh, heard what's his name? Jeremy Boring got forced out of his position. Not looking good. Google scrubbed it if you look for it. Well, I wouldn't go on Google. I go to other places. Anybody else notice Mr. Net Zero gets an uncomfortable question? He'll say and repeatedly. Yeah, he does. You get him put on the spot. Anyway, let's get into this. So exposing Mark Carney. saying should sex be up for sale? This is real. This is real. Was this a Juno article that he was reading from though? Maybe it was.
This article here, you're not going to find anywhere because this was printed back in 2021, and I'm going to blow your
back in 2021.
Mind. Watch this. So I'm going to zoom into these sections so you can see what I see. In Mark Carney's book, Values, Building a Better World, he says that Western society is morally rotten and that it has been corrupted by capitalism. He claims it requires rigid controls on personal freedom, industry, and corporate funding. Since about 2020, Carney has been front and center in the promotion of a political agenda known as the Great Reset.
Yeah, we've known this, right? We've known that Carney was behind Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau publicly talked about the Great Reset until it became largely unpopular to talk about the Great Reset. They tried to, put it off as a conspiracy theory, and then people pointed out, like, what about Klaus Schwab and his book called COVID-19 the Great Reset? Yeah, that kind of thing. Carnage Carney, member for 6 months. Wow, what a name. That's great. Saying bring back ball and chain hard labor. So I'm not completely against that. It's these human rights advocacy groups that usually fight against that kind of stuff. I mean, I'd love to get into the weeds with philosophy and stuff. I'm actually more of the idea that when somebody commits an act against somebody, that I think that, because they always say there should be a debt paid. There should be a debt paid. I think that the debt that should be paid should be enumerated, and it should be awarded to the victims of said crime. And then I think it should be and then it should be indentured servitude until the debt is paid back. And that's how sentences should work. And then at that right, then the victims of the crime, or the families of the victim, would be remunerated in that way, instead of just taxpayers paying for the housing of criminals. And I mean, if people wanted, I could expound more on this idea that I have for crime and punishment in an actual like market value. What do I think of capital punishment for criminals? I believe in capital punishment, absolutely, especially for heinous crimes like when it comes to kids. Let's just say when it comes to kids, I think there's certain crimes that there's no coming back from that. There's no, you're not, no. And it's been proven that recidivism rates are just, it's not, there's no rehabilitation for that. I would love to talk about crime and punishment with you. I've been a federal prosecutor for 23 years. Diana, you gonna be hanging out in the Discord after the chat? Because that would be fun. I love talking about this kind of thing. I have a whole theory, a market pitch for crime and punishment that I think. Well, I mean, obviously we need judiciaries and all that stuff. That's all government run. But I'm talking about the punishment aspect of it. I totally agree when it comes to kids. Total capital punishment. Yeah. I don't. And it should be a deterrent, like that should be the thing. This whole idea of the liberals, where they're okay with this stuff, is just beyond me. Just absolutely beyond me. Look up Chrystia Freeland 2023. Capitalism doesn't work anymore. I've showed that video. I've so showed that. Yeah, let's get to the end of this one though.
All predicated on the disruption of the global economy, providing a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to not just regulate climate, but to frame it a more fair, more diverse, and more inclusive, more safe, and more woke world.
Okay, so woke and climate and all of these things, they're all just euphemisms for excuse. This is an excuse for us to implement Marxism. They're all Marxists. This is what they like to do. They like to talk about Marxism. They like to show off their Marxism, and you see it all the time. Subtle things. I mean, you could even, I'll Google this. Klaus, Klaus Schwab. There you go. Doesn't take long to find it. Really, like right away. Here we go. Boom. Let's pop this up on the screen. Here's Klaus Schwab in an interview. He's in an interview where he had them come into his office, set up their cameras, and what's that behind him? In view. It's his choice where he would want to sit. And he's got a bust of Lenin in his office. A bust of Lenin. You can't be serious. Except it is. These guys are Marxists. And when you hear about Mark Carney talking about Marx and praising Marx in his literature, in his books that he's written, you should heed that warning. Have you read Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky? No, I haven't. That's definitely on my whole list of things. Yeah, I haven't. My wife's been reading a bunch of that stuff. In Japanese, nonetheless. Whoa. I guess when you're reading it in English too, for the Russians, they're whoa, crazy. But yeah, that is on my list of things. Just caught the guy who vandalized the Tesla dealership. Charges laid. So here, let's get to the end of this video, and then we can talk about that. Remind me to talk about that again.
Carney draws inspiration from, among others, Marx, Engels, and Lenin. But the agenda he promotes differs from Marxism in two key respects. First, the private sector is...
Listen to this. It differs from Marxism in two key respects. Remember that.
The agenda he promotes differs from Marxism in two key respects. First, the private sector is not to be expropriated, but made a partner in reshaping the economy and society. Second, it does not make a promise to make the lives of ordinary people better, but worse.
Okay, so he's going to make the lives of people worse. But this is a very interesting bit. So let's hear that first part one more time.
Partner in reshaping. First, the private, but the agenda he promotes differs from Marxism in two key respects. First, the private sector is not to be expropriated, but made a partner in reshaping the economy and society. Second,
so who else has done that? So most people would forget that some of the really, really bad ideologies of the Second World War, I mean, communism is one, socialism for sure, but they were all flavors of socialism. And this is what people forget about all this stuff. Yutaka, you're on it. Isn't that fascism? It's fascism. It's absolutely fascism. Mussolini, who was like the architect of this whole idea, had exactly the same thing in mind. Absolutely the same thing in mind. He wanted to bring about a society where it was a perfect merger between state and corporation. This is the idea. And this is what it's made me nervous over the years. Every time I hear the term private-public partnership, I get goosebumps. And I think, oy vey, right? I don't like it. I don't like the sound of that. Let's not move towards that. So who else came up with an idea like that? Who else was inspired with that? And am I going to get the Godwin Award tonight? The guy with the funny mustache, the clickety clank, shouting at everyone from his podium. That guy, yeah, totally had this on his thing. So one thing that I really found useful to know, and I think I got this from Lou Rockwell of the Mises Institute. He's got a great podcast. He's done this for years. The Austrian Painters Gang. So Lou Rockwell, he did a show on Germany's economy under fascist rule, and it was an interesting one, to say the least. And the way it essentially worked was, rather than, as he say, usurp the private property, rather than seize the means of production, rather than put property ownership in the hands of the state and the state only, the way they did it was they created a facade. It was this facade of private ownership where people would be able to maintain the ownership of the things that they had, but there was a knowledge, everybody knew this, that the state ultimately was the owner of everything. And if you didn't, you would just basically be a manager of the things that you own and operate and run and that kind of thing. If you owned a business, that kind of thing. As soon as the state was not happy with what you did, they took it. And a lot of times they were very violent about it. People disappeared overnight, and then there was a new manager. This is the thing. Yes, Hitler was a socialist. He was a socialist. It's in the name, the National Socialist Party. It's absurd that people are unaware of the workings here. They always say, "Oh, but they were right-wing socialists." What? What does that even mean? What does that even mean? What are you talking about? They were authoritarian. They were authoritarian. And okay, tell me the difference. So how can we look at this? So there's all these really convoluted scales of how you look at political leanings, whether they're right or they're left. And a lot of times people will tell you, they'll give you this like cross scale, and it's like economic freedom and personal freedom, and they'll try to break things up like this, and they'll say, and then you have, authoritarians when it comes to your economic stuff, and then your personal stuff. Well, I'm sorry, but my economics are my personal stuff. The money I make, and you intruding on that, in my eye, is no different than what kind of music I like to listen to, and you intruding on that. It's liberty. Are you infringing on my liberty, or are you not infringing on my liberty? Now, once you break it down to that, it's like, okay, now we can have a linear scale. We can have this total linear scale where we're looking at things, and it's like, okay, well, where's left and right on the screen here? So this, for you guys, this would be the right. So all the way to the right. All the way to the right, you if you're looking at the freedom index, right? This is your freedom index. If you have ultimate freedom all the way on the right, the very, very far end, you have anarchy, where there's no rulers. There is zero rulers. That's freedom, but it's got the most responsibility on each individual person. You have to fend off warlords, and you have to fend off people that want to take your stuff. You have to fend off everything, because you have all of your liberty. You have everything, but everybody else has their liberty, and they can infringe on your liberty, and that sucks. That's terrible. But then you go to the other end of the spectrum. You go all the way to the far left. Authoritarianism. It's awful. It's rule. You're being lorded over. And authoritarianism isn't always bad for everybody in the whole gig. I mean, the authoritarian's got a pretty good gig. He likes it. He's got everything he wants, at least in capacity of what can be given out in a society that's authoritarian. In my argument, the kings and the serfs, the kings didn't live even as close as to how nice we live today. Didn't have refrigeration, all these other things that came about because of the market economy. But we could get into that later. So all the way on the left, you have authoritarianism. All the way on the right, you have anarchy. Now you slide the scales back a little bit. Well, what do you see? What do you see in on the right. You scale the scales back, and you start having a little bit of limitation on your liberty. You might find a situation where you like minarchism, like what the United States was founded to be. There are rules. There are a set of rules, and you have to abide by those rules. There you go, law and order. You have courts. You have judges. You have contracts that are enforceable by arbiters and other peers amongst you. Which came first, China, commies, or Kazakhstan at what? All right. Refrigerators are pretty handy. They're handy things. Handy dandy. Keep that food good. Keep in good keeping. Kings didn't have YouTube. No. And this is why the masses didn't have this kind of knowledge. Didn't have the information. Knowledge. Books. So you come back a little bit from anarchy, and you have the rule of law. You keep sliding back, and then you get, I don't know, some government businesses, these kinds of things. How can we, John, with the 279, how can we help conservatives win Eastern Canada? Well, I've been talking about it all stream. Get on the podcasts. I refer to my previous statements. So, on the other side, what is Ty Lopez? I'll have to fill you in later. I know you'll be in the Discord chat, so I'll see you in there. So on the other end of the spectrum, you have your authoritarians. So you have your communists on the very far left. But then people will tell you, oh, but the fascists, you see, they were I know they were socialists, but they were far right. Like, hold on a second, though, but this doesn't fit with the Freedom Index. It doesn't really fit. Because how is far, like, what is it? You're an anarchist, then you're a minarchist, then you're a libertarian, and then suddenly you're clinkety clank and you got a funny mustache? How does that work? Suddenly you want to become an authoritarian? No. The authoritarians are all on the far left. This is the thing. The Mao and Stalin and Lenin, Pol Pot, Mussolini, Hitler, they all agreed with each other largely on systems of governance. The big disagreement that they had was, it should be mine. That's right. And when they disagreed with that, then they went to war with each other. It's unbelievable. But like economically, these are economic ideas. I love these chats. I absolutely love these chats. I was supposed to get back to something. Somebody remind me before we get out of here, because I'd love to go hang out in the Discord tonight and chat with more of you guys. I want to hear your voices as well, because that's the fun part of the evening. I think these are moral ideas. Yes, well, yes. The idea of property ownership is a moral concept, and this is what's being violated by these authoritarians. Absolutely. Property ownership starts with the concept of self-ownership, and everything branches out from there. It's the idea that you own yourself, and your rights were not granted to you by any other person. The rights that you are bestowed upon you were granted to you by your creator, and no one shall infringe on that. And if they do infringe on those rights, there should be recourse. That's where the fundamental philosophies differ. And when you break it down to that, when you break it down to those concepts, this is where if you can find a socialist that's really, really into socialism, but they they haven't really thought it back down to core principles like that. Try to bring them there. Try to bring them there, because that's where the fundamental difference lies, is that socialists don't believe that at their core. They believe in this concept of the greater good, that, you know, people should be forced to make sacrifices for the greater good. But what is the greater good always? The greater good is the good of the guys that are running the show. It's the central authority. And you'll never get away from this centralization of authority. It's a human instinct for people to want to do this. And it's unfortunate, because it's you know, when we're in small factions, small groups, tribalist, like, think caveman days. This sort of form of organizing your group, of your troop, literally your troop. This is the term for hominids or any creatures like that are, you know, just in a small group, where it's, you know, a family plus, right? That works. It works as a way of assembling, and so it's human nature to want to try to bring society in that sort of way. But we know better. We know better than this now, and yet so many people, and it really comes down to hubris. You know, you have people that really think that they know what's best for everybody else. And these people are always willing to sacrifice the masses for their cause, but they'll never be included in that sacrifice. You get what I'm saying? It's a very ugly ideology at the end of the day. And the more you look into it, the more you can explain it, and the more you can convey this to people who fall prey to this type of ideology. I think it's really really a meme in the greater sense of the mind virus. Yep, Clyde, about the greater good. Read. Yeah. Do you see Northern Perspective's new video, CCP controlled polls? No, I haven't. A lot of people have asked me about that tonight. I'll get to it. But I have seen a lot of other articles, so it's the nature of the YouTube thing. Other people are talking about it. There would be a bunch of different videos on the subject, so I will check it out. People think they're saving the world. What better cause than that? Good luck breaking them out of that mold. Well, you can break individuals out, absolutely. And that was really great last night, having David Charalambos on the show, because we got into breaking that wall, that barrier, to have these discussions with people. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out. It was a 3-hour long stream, and I think it was in the question and answer portion of it. So it's a long one. I do plan on cutting that stream up, because there are so many good tidbits that will make up for really good concise videos on those subjects. I love that episode, by the way, last night. Yes, it was really good. And we had to arrange the schedules. David, my man. We had to arrange the schedules to make it work, because he's in London, and I have a tight schedule too, because I have a day job and all that stuff. So David, what are you doing? Eat the me. What is that? What is that little anagram thing there as well, with 499 super chat? Oh, that's too funny. Thank you, by the way. I mean, it's very, very generous of you. Right as I'm ending the stream as well. Too funny. I really appreciate that. And David, we gotta plan something as well to get you on the stream. By the way, met David at the Conservative Convention a few weeks back, and David's just a fantastic fantastic guy and has some really, really high energy and really great opinions. So that Texan money, there you go. So it's in the works. It's in the works. We're going to make it happen. So yeah, everybody say, wow, kudos. Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much. Holy cow. Now I'm going to put that to some good work. That is for sure. And just talking about that too, because, we're talking about editing and all of that stuff. The stream from last night is going to be a great one to cut up for all those very, very moments. Clyde Marathon, nothing fantastic. What are you talking about? Good night, Clyde. Thanks for another great live chat. This is why I like these Friday night episodes. In fact, it was incidentally, I almost pulled the plug on the Fridays just because I am quite overworked, but I was trying to bring in guests every Friday. So like the first half, it would just be this, and then the second half would be a guest. And I noticed that most people really just wanted the community stream on the Friday. And so to do the other chats on different nights, and it's been working out great. And I think it works really well. And these Friday chats are such a good wind down for me for the end of the week, because I get to get into some of the philosophy as well as the news stories. So, like we're just talking about the philosophy of liberty, right? I really love this stuff. I'm very enthused about this kind of thing, and it is kind of like my warm, cozy place to go is first principles and philosophy of freedom, liberty, that kind of thing. And wobbly pops. I end up not being able to have many because, one through the whole stream over the course of 2.5 hours, because my lips are flapping, not drinking. It's been a great day watching you. Now I need the weekend off. Well, appreciate it. That's 722 Canadian, LOL. What was it? Really? Was that $4.99 USD? It doesn't say if it's USD on there. That's crazy. That's absolutely insane. Thank you so much. So, I mean, obviously, again, it's going to go to some good stuff. Because, yeah, I've got big things planned. I'm looking forward to executing on some of this stuff. And, well, it's a matter of, well, time, effort, and time. The other part there is time. Station pub tabs says more than one. Oh, that's yeah. That place was called the Station, right? In Victoria. So yeah. Oh, I wasn't gonna brag for you, but yeah, there you go. When we all went out, to the pub on that weekend of the AGM, and David picked up everyone's tab. It was funny. It was a sight to see. When do you get to see your family? Every day, every single day. So that's really nice. I'm a busy dad, but I'm building a good future. So as long as it goes to the good stuff, that's right. Unless I lose that bet with Marty, then a tiny portion of it is going to go to a bottle of whiskey. Because that was the bet. So I bet that they weren't going to drop the writ on Sunday, because that's been my long-standing bet, is to bet against what everybody says in their predictions. And so far I've won over the course of 2 years, every prediction. But this one I might lose. I hope I lose, but it's a thing. Hold on to those US dollars. The great Canadian peso is coming. You're not kidding. You're absolutely not kidding. But hey, let's move this over to the Discord. If you haven't already, Utaka, get in there and get them a link to the Discord before we get on out of here. Discord is a great social media platform where you can so have a private server set up where there's chat rooms, like typing chat rooms. You can share your news stories with like-minded people, but also every Friday we get together after this show and we hang out in the voice chat, which also has video, by the way. You don't have to share your video. You don't have to even share your voice. Just jump in if you want to lurk and just listen to the conversation. Everybody's welcome. The link is only ever available during the stream, and the link expires within 24 hours. We've done this to keep bots and trolls as much as we can out of the Discord, and we have a moderation team that grabs the ones that get through even that safe precaution that we have. So it really is a friendly community. It's a great place. It's not like feeding you off to some mailing list or something like that. I don't even get any social media perks or benefits out of this. It really is just about bringing the community together, people that want to continue the conversation late into the night, and that's what we do. So if you're so inclined, join us over there. We're going to be heading on over to there, and for everybody else, it was great hanging with you, and we'll do this again next week. Absolutely. Starting Monday, don't forget, we have the live stream on Monday. We have Jasmine Lane and we have Frank Vaughn. It's going to be an interesting conversation because we're going to be hearing a lot about the PPC history, Maxime Bernier, and what's been going on over there. So everybody, well,